Well, hello again, everyone. It has been a while since I've created some consistent content. And before I get into the topic of this video, I'll give a slight update and an apology for the lack of content coming out of my channel this year. There's only been a few handful of Neo videos and one interview, but I rest assured I have been very busy. I've worked on other personal projects, larger than YouTube scope. I've worked on a TV show, and I've also worked on many other different things, creative or some things not so creative. I got engaged, so that's exciting. So lots of things have been happening. And I thought to re-energize myself for this last quarter of the year, I'm looking at some of my creative stuff, and something lingering in my backlog was the uploading of the rest of the 6 interviews I conducted during PAX 2023. You may have already seen my interview with Mike, who represented the game Sanctuary Shattered Sun earlier this year, and I'm still very excited about that project, but I knew that because that was something I was passionate about, I wanted to get that video out. Unfortunately, I've been delayed and leaving it quite literally to the last minute with PAX only 2 days away from this recording. Oh, 3, sorry. I'm uploading the rest of the interviews I conducted so I can essentially close the book on PAX 2023 content. So today, you will see a series of collection of interviews. The first one from Ando, talking about his game Boba Master, card game. Then we've got Dave, who worked on the game The Drifter, which looks very similar if you ever play the game Crawl, which it is done also by him. Then I speak with Tim, who worked on his board game card game Fat Cats. Following Tim, we have a discussion with Phillip, who worked on a video game called Up to Par, which is a mini golf roguelite, which is really exciting and actually releases in 7 days on the 15th of October. So look out for that. I'll also speak with Sebastian, another card game called Kingless. I actually bought a copy of this game. Actually, I bought a copy of all these games that I talk about today, where possible. And that's a fun card game, good with families. And last one I spoke to, was Daryl, who worked on a lot of games, quite an accomplished board game designer based in Singapore. And I speak mainly about his game Wok and Roll, and a few other things as well. Very interesting bloke and really good chatting with him. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to have all these videos stitched together. I could have gone to the effort of actually putting everything individually, but, well, time and such, not much left. So here it is, probably my largest video on YouTube ever to be created, and it's just a series of interviews. But anyway, hope you enjoy it. There will be more content to come. Neo will do more reviews, and I hope that I can actually share some of the other content I've been working on this year on my YouTube channel for everyone to see. With that, I leave you with the interviews. I hope you enjoy it.
So Ando, thanks for coming here and being at PAX first of all. You're displaying your game Boba Master, you can see there.
Yes.
It is a quick card-based game where you're simply trying to assemble Boba tea.
Yes, that's right.
Over a series of steps. Tell me about the process, like how did you come up with the idea? Let's just start with that.
Yeah, so the idea of Boba Master kind of came by, we're thinking about a game where we can kind of just pinch cards from our opponents as opposed to playing from your own hand. And so Boba Master is more or less built on that pinching mechanism. So the idea is you want to remember which tools your opponents have, and then you want to kind of pinch from them. And then once you grab the tool, you now have the card, your opponents now try and pinch from you. And so that's where the concept of Boba Master came from.
So would I be right in saying that you had the genesis of the idea first and then you put the theme in later?
That's correct. I think with the theme, we started with a potato building your own chips theme, which we were like, oh, that doesn't quite work. So we started to think about other games, other concepts, and we built bubble tea into that mechanism.
That's awesome. So obviously with your last game, Yumcha, you've got this really kind of cutesy art style. Do you work with the art style, or you have an artist that you work with?
Yeah, so the artist is actually my brother, who's here today.
Pan the camera.
Pan the camera.
There he is.
So he does all the artwork for all our games, Cocker Games. So this year's Boba Master, last year's Yamcha, also Carry On and Dirty Laundry. He does all the art.
I guess it's actually really easy because obviously you're working with the product at the same time, and because you have all the control over it, you're not having to go to and from an artist, or it's just easy to kind of produce the kind of flavour you want from your style and evoke the emotion from the players and all that. So does that mean you guys are self-published?
Yes, we are self-published, so we do everything from scratch, from game design to drawing to publishing the games ourselves and distributing the games ourselves. So the whole process.
How did you find? So was Yamcha your first game?
No, so Yamcha is actually our third game.
Wow, okay. This is your fourth game then?
This Boba Master is our fourth game. Carry On was our first game. That was inspired by the pandemic. My brother was living in Brisbane, I lived in Canberra. We talked about travelling, and we were talking about card games, and we're like, why isn't there a travel game? And so we made Carry On.
Oh, perfect.
Then next game was Dirty Laundry, which is about sabotage. One of our friends was like, why don't you make a game about sabotage? So we made Dirty Laundry. So Dirty Laundry is about washing. You can imagine if I want to wash a white shirt, I can throw in a red sock and ruin the clothes. Now I need bleach to fix the white clothes, but bleach I can use to ruin colour clothes. So a lot of sabotage.
Oh, awesome. So with just game design and process, or just getting into the industry, I suppose, were you always interested, or did it just kind of be like, you know what, I got an idea one day, let's just make something? I know you said first game was inspired by the pandemic. How did that come about? Like, how did you get into it?
Yeah, so it really came by just spur of the moment. We thought about Carry On the game, and then we kickstarted that. We had quite a few backers, a few of our friends. Thank you everyone who backed us. And then that gave us a bit of confidence boost to release our next game, Dirty Laundry. And then we enjoyed watching people play our games, having lots of fun, lots of laughters, and that really inspired us to keep making more games to make people laugh. And so we started making Yamcha, and people found the art lovely and cute, and so they loved that. And then again, that gave us another boost.
Well, that's awesome. So I'd presume that, considering the cadence of the last release, this is your full-time gig now, like you're just working, or you're doing other stuff at the same time?
So this is actually a part-time hobby that we both do.
It's amazing managing to produce a game,
Yeah, no, we both work on the side, and then on our spare time we work on Cocker Games, and we have lots of ideas. We're just trying to share the happiness with our games, really. And so the fans, thank you very much for supporting us. You keep us motivated to keep going, and so no, thank you.
Well, thanks, Ando. It's really cool to see such great product, and I mean, I haven't played it, but just watching the demos before, it looks like a lot of fun. So looking forward to giving it a go myself with my own friends. But thanks for doing this interview, and you have a fantastic PAX.
Yeah, no, you too, Russell. Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
So this is Dave. I'm assuming you're still in Dave, or you got a team around you?
No, there's a bit of a team now. So it was me for a little while, kind of building the game so it's playable with my own like scrappy kind of art. But now, the last couple of years I've been sort of ramping up to full production. So we've got like 3 different artists working on it, musician and stuff. So more of a full team now, and I'm more like in that kind of director role, like getting people to do stuff. And
Oh, awesome. So do you have a studio name or?
PAX,
Yep. So for those who don't know, they made a game released in 2017 called Crawl.
Yep.
Fun kind of like co-op game that turns into a 1v3 kind of situation.
Yeah, like a party game where your friends control the monsters kind of thing. Yeah.
So presuming that was 6 years ago, have you been working on the Drifter for that long?
We did another little party game called Breaking Human Basketball, which was like a bit of a palate cleanser after Crawl, because Crawl is a long project. And then I kind of started this, and I've been doing a bunch of little other games in the meantime as well. But this has been my main like full-time project.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, I'm 100% being honest. I actually don't know anything about from what I've just seen walking past.
Yeah.
Give me the elevator pitch. What's the game about?
Yeah, so it's a fast-paced take on a point-and-click adventure. The idea is, you play as Mick Carter, who's a drifter. He's jumped a boxcar back to his hometown when he witnesses a violent murder, is pursued by armed soldiers, and thrown in a reservoir and drowned. But that's just the start of the film. Yeah. So he finds himself alive again seconds before his death, and you've got to escape, try and track down who's chasing you and why you're going back in time, and like what this weird thing is that's coming back with you from the dead, the other side. So a lot of like mystery vibes and sort of working out what's going on, a bit of detective-y gameplay, but we really want to have it feel like a story game, which is like an edge of your seat thriller, so like a roller coaster ride kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So how long has the devs process been so far?
Yeah, I started it in 2019, so spent a few years building the whole thing and writing and like coming up with the story, so it was sort of playable start to finish, and did a couple of sort of draft iterations, and then got the full team on board for art and stuff for a couple more years. So it's my 5th year on the project. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a big one.
Pretty intense.
Yeah, and probably got about another year left going by. Like, yeah, we've got about 2/3 of the art in. It's playable from start to finish, but yeah, it's been about a third of the art's been going in every year the last 2 years. So another year maybe we'll be getting there.
So you said before that you're kind of in that leadership role now, but before that, were you just doing mainly the story? Were you doing any of the art assets or anything else? Or?
Yeah, a lot of the story and plot. Also building a kind of a tool for making point and clicks on top of Unity. So I grew up making point and click adventures using Adventure Game Studio, which is this nice little tool that's just made for one purpose. And we use Unity for crawl, which is really flexible and you can do anything with it. But yeah, I really wanted something where I simplify things down to like just doing one thing really well. And so yeah, made this thing called Power Quest at the same time, which other teams are using to make games now for their point and click games. So that stuff as well. But yeah, the writing stuff it was kind of surprising how much there is to learn about writing a longer game. Because I'd written lots of short ones, but never anything that was longer than like an hour gameplay. So suddenly it's like I can't just have one sort of big plot beat. I've got to have enough to maintain this big story where there's a lot of different threads interweaving, and it's quite challenging. I had to learn a lot about writing and stuff in general.
So just of what you said, does that imply that there's like multiple endings, or is it just one linear story that you're kind of playing through? Or I think you said it was like fast paced. Does that mean there's like, how does it deviate? Like what's the difference?
Yeah, so I wanted to concentrate on a single like narrative, so the single character arc and resolution, and so the places where it does sort of diverge and become more interactive, it's more like the way you approach a problem, so you'll like the order you do things, so it feels like open, but then there's actually only one real like character plot sort of thing going forward. Yeah.
So is that to say that the game is more like narrative, discussion focused, it's not like combat or anything like that? It's really like a story that is being told to the meeting with this game.
Yeah, so I did want to make like a pure point and click adventure. So it's got, one thing I found was that you can actually have something where there's no timed elements, but you ramp up the music and the tension in this sort of scenes, and you get players feeling like really panicked. Even though there's no time pressure, they can take as long as they want. Like really panic and go, oh, what should I do? Oh no, I'm like trying to work out what to click on, and like it's been really exciting because it's kind of one of the pillars that I wanted to kind of focus on was trying to get a point and click adventure, which is traditionally like quite a slow paced genre, to feel quite tense and exciting. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. So you said it's releasing next year. Any timeline, like early or late?
Oh no, I'd say at least another year. That's all. Yeah, I think just based on how long it's been taking to get the art in so far. Yeah, that's all I'll say. I don't want to commit to anything.
I can just tell by your energy and your passion that you feel like you really want to get it to a stage where like, okay, now I'm finally happy to give it to people.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to leave it half cooked. I'm presuming you'll self-publish and everything like that? Or?
Yeah. Because our first game did quite well for us, and we wanted to keep a small team as well, which is partly why it's taking so long. But that means that we're sort of sustainable, like just doing it ourselves.
That retains the artistic integrity. You're not having to meet deadlines and
although
be beholden to other things.
Deadlines are helpful, but totally.
True, definitely. Well, thank you very much, David.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
You have a good rest of your PAX, and thanks for doing this interview.
Yeah, thank you.
I look forward to playing it.
Awesome.
So, hello, this is Tim. Is Board and Sorcery your studio?
Yeah, so Board and Sorcery is a small little company based in Melbourne. We started about 6 years ago, but really started taking it serious after the pandemic. We wanted to make more interactive games that are played in more pubs and more friendly like that. We wanted to create experiences and memorable moments at a table. We've had some great games and playtesters throughout the years, and everybody sometimes forgets who won those games, but they enjoy the moments that have had during those games. And that's what we kind of cared about very much post the pandemic world.
That's a really cool goal. So I see you've got 2 games, you've got Fat Cats and Treacherous Tides. So are these the only Fat Cat's not released yet, you've got to back out on Kickstarter, but Treacherous Tides your first game, or did you got a game before that as well?
Yeah, so Fat Cats has been in development about 6 years, whereas Treacherous Tides only sort of came into fruition this year. So with Mark and myself, we kind of threw together Treacherous Tides and got it self-funded this year to be published by ourselves, so we threw a lot of money behind that. And then with Fat Cats, it's kind of a bigger game, longer experience, so we wanted to get go to Kickstarter for that to get more branding, more help, and bigger community to get behind it. With Treacherous Tides, because it was like that small dice game, we want to try and release at least 2 games a year, one small experience, 15-20 minutes, and one larger 60 plus minute game that's a bit more in depth. So we probably have about 6 games sitting around the production studio at the moment.
Wow, okay.
Whereas, yeah, there's only been those 2. There's one other one we've talked about publicly called Cyberpunk Dream, which is kind of a longer cyberpunk building city experience where there's gangs and mafias and hidden roles and all that sort of fun stuff. But we've had to put that aside for the rest of this year while we focus on these 2 projects.
So 6 years of development.
Yeah.
Why so long? Like, what's the story with that?
So the main 2 factors in that are actually COVID and I became a father.
Yep.
And they were the 2 biggest ones. Other ones were we changed a lot of different things. The world changed a lot. So there is a lot of political parity within the game, and some of those things didn't relate well to the new world. So at each different time, every year I'd have to re-look at it. We'd have to change some certain stuff just to make sure that any of the jokes in there are actually on point and not politically incorrect.
Yeah.
We want to make sure it's funny and accessible to the world. And at the end of the day, if someone is talking about corporate greed or climate change, it's a really good topic to chat about with people. We feel like we're going to succeed as long as one person in the world talks about this. So
yeah.
We think they're important messages to send, but we also want to make the game accessible to everyone and fun, so you're not locked into that sort of stuff.
That's very interesting. I can definitely imagine, particularly with stuff like COVID happening, that certain things probably will be less joked about and whatnot, and obviously the political landscape changing quite drastically over 6 years.
So on the Kickstarter as well, there is the Green War expansion. Green War for Fat Cats brings in green power energy options as well as war profiteering. Once again, very topical with certain elements happening in Europe, and so waiting for the right time to sort of be able to play with those ideas again. Again, real topics that we want people to talk about without being too pushy as well.
I think it's not so much the substance of the topics, but more just, like you said, the timing. You don't want to be too close home with people.
We have toyed as well with the second expansion, which is all about the rise of AI and COVID. So we're waiting for the time for a big disease in the game to hit and not be too ouch. So
exactly. So I've got an interesting question, and I don't know whether this even applies because it's such a broad kind of topic of being kind of like this capitalist, like, the world's ending, but who cares, we've got the money kind of situation. Did you do any consultation for the game? Did you reach out to any third parties to try and get more information about certain topics?
I have a few friends in the scientific background realms and some in political sciences, and so we chatted to them a bit about it early days to kind of just make sure that what we were doing kind of resonated well with at least their communities as well. We wanted to make sure that if we are talking about a game about climate change, that we're making sure that the things we're saying and the things we're doing in the game do reflect well. So one of the cards, farming, is probably one of the worst and damaging cards to the environment in the game, because farming is kind of one of the worst and damaging ones in the game. And those sort of, the expansion Green Power will also bring in some green options. So there is places in the world that have got really great farming that are more green and more sustainable. And we want to make sure we're highlighting and showcasing those new technologies in the game as well. So, yeah.
So within the design process of the game, did you find that there were any, I mean, you already kind of talked about a bit of COVID and stuff, but any other external challenges that you didn't expect? Or like, you know, like issues in production potentially, or... explain to me that.
Yeah, so early on in the game, we actually had you starting your company in certain locations around the world. So you would play in North America or Asia or Australia. And there was a few jokes about that. So in Australia, we had a negative to car factories because we've shut them all down, right? And what we found is a lot of people were just picking on countries or being aggressive about countries. So we've kind of scrapped the countries, brought in some fake companies which you can actually pay for higher tiers than the Kickstarter to even name your own. We wanted to give some options back there to people if they want to have their own company in the game. So we kind of let them have the choice as opposed to us having the choice at the end of that. Because yeah, we found that a few countries were getting picked on. We also found a few countries, people just like, I'm Africa, I can do whatever, you know, you're like, So yeah, some of it just didn't come across like we wanted to on the messaging. So yeah, they hit the cutting room floor. There was also a couple of cards that hit the cutting room floor based on certain political or celebrity figures that, because of actions in the more recent world, we don't want to highlight or showcase what they're doing in the world. So
yeah, I can probably assume, you know, someone like head of Twitter or something who's gone a bit more radical over the last, probably wouldn't be as well received as they would maybe 5 or 5 years ago. It's kind of like,
some cards
totally understand.
There was thought about having a twatter card in there for a while, so may or may not come in a later expansion when the time is right, but we'll see. So
are you a solo developer? Do you have a team that works around you?
So currently it's mainly me doing a lot of the workload. With Treacherous Tide, I had a co-designer, Mark. We kind of brought the dice game to me, and we kind of workshopped and worked it together. And I kind of gave it more of a design flesh out with my design background. We also have a couple of artists we work closely with, and a graphic designer also based in Melbourne as well. We kind of just bounce ideas and bounce things, and most of the time it's us playing those games and offering those inputs through all the entire creative process. So we want to make sure it's there. We want to make sure we all have input during the entire process, because it makes for a better product at the end. So.
I love what you said earlier about having that kind of like hub energy of like a game where the experiences are what's taken away from the game itself rather than people like just one.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm presuming just based on that, it's like it is competitive, but it's not so competitive that that's the sole focus of the experience.
Yeah, I mean both games at the moment you kind of win if you have the most money. So it does have that competitive, but at the same time, big moves and big powers and having lots of fun is what makes the game even better.
It's like a side effect. Like there's technically a winner, but that's not the intended aim for your as an author.
Exactly, and we've had people play some really big cards and have some really big moments in this game, even this weekend here at PAX, and to the point where everybody's laughing at the table, all the people around them are watching and laughing at the table, and it's insane. So it's been really good and really well received here, and we're having a great time showcasing these games here at PAX.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. I really appreciate the interview. I'll put your link in the description for the Kickstarter. I'll even send you a copy of this interview. And thanks for talking about your game and seeing your passion. It's awesome.
Nice, thank you. There is also one other little thing I want to say at the end. I'm just going to say this anyway, and you can edit it later. Talking about other games, there is a teaser in the back of the Treacherous Tides book that leads to Treacherous Trails, a Wild West themed version of the Treacherous series, hopefully coming end of next year. So,
yeah. Oh, awesome.
One of the games on the cutting room floor at the moment, but we're going to bring it up soon. So.
Thanks again.
No worries, thank you. Have a great PAX.
Okay, so this is Phillip. This is his game Up to Par. This is actually from the New Zealand section. So they've got this PAX AUS here. And Phillip, tell me about your game. It's a roguelike mini golf. What's that all about?
Yes, so it's kind of like golf, but a bit backwards. The roguelike element is that the levels are procedural, so they're different every time you play. Instead of counting how many shots it takes to play through, you start with all your shots at the beginning, and you use them up as you play and see how far you get before you run out. The twist is that there's a shop, so you can spend your precious shots on buying upgrades for your future runs.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So how long have you worked on the game for?
So I've been working on it for about 12 months. It'll be coming out in the next 6 months, but there's a demo already available on Steam. You can just go and play it.
Perfect. Now, do you already exist? Have you already existed in the games industry, or is this like something?
I have. I've been around the block. So I've worked at Square Enix. I worked on Lara Croft Go, Hitman Go, and Deus Ex Go. And I left to found my own studio, which is just me. I'm a solo indie dev. I made a 2-player cooperative game called 39 Days to Mars. You're British inventors flying to Mars, but it's the 18th century, so your spaceship is terrible and falling apart. And now I'm making a roguelike mini golf.
Oh, that's really cool. So did you do any like consultation for the game, or did you get anyone? I know it's only like a mini golf game, but like, did you go out to mini golf places and do some like what are like the best track designs for the game or not? Like,
I mean, I really like mini golf, so I tend to play a lot of mini golf anyway. The procedural elements, it took a bit of trial and error. I didn't go and look at other mini golf courses because I'm trying to do things that you can't really do in real life.
Yeah.
The course layouts, they start fairly simple. It's a green with square corners, but by the end you're on an ocean course above the waves, you can fall off the edges, it gets a bit ridiculous.
Awesome. So when making this game, did you have any challenges, or was there any impact of like COVID or anything that kind of, because I know you said it's only 12 months, so we're kind of past that, but just curious to get your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, being a solo dev sometimes is just tricky. I don't have colleagues to bounce ideas off, so there's a lot of things like shows such as this are really good ways to get feedback. Public play testing, I've got a really good group on Discord who help me with new features, see whether they're really good ideas or really terrible ideas. Not having colleagues is definitely one of the biggest things. The game supports online networking as well. You can play online or online or local with up to 16 players. And testing 16 players by myself is a bit tricky.
It's a lot of devices. So is this only going to be on Steam? Is it going to be cross-platform at all, or what's your intention?
So the first launch is on Steam. I hope to bring it to consoles. There's nothing announced yet, but watch this space next year. Join my newsletter. That's the way you'll find out about these releases.
I did that yesterday, and I'll include the link in the description.
Excellent.
One final question, I suppose, is that because you said you're a solo developer, does that mean that you did all the assets yourself, so programming, coding, same thing, but you know, art, like, did you do everything, or did you
Almost.
take pieces from people?
Yeah, so I have a really good musician and sound designer who helps me with the audio side of things, but everything else I do myself. The design, the programming, the art, and obviously all the marketing.
Oh, awesome. Well, looking forward to it, Phillip. Thanks for doing the interview, and I hope you see some great success. It looks like a lot of fun.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure
meeting you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
This is Sebastian from Kingless, or rather, that is your board game you've made. Tell me about it.
So Kingless is a fast-paced, take-that style game. It's designed to be short and snappy 15-20 minute rounds, and we promote multiple gameplay sessions because Kingless has both a winner and a loser at the end of each round. So going into the next round, the loser has to give the winner their best card from their draw hand. They get to take any card they want in return. There's 3 card types in Kingless. We've got dwarfs, items, and events. You can play as many event cards as you'd like during your turn from your hand. They'll do things like removing cards from other players' hands, like one's called pickpocket, so you can take from their hand or steal from their side of the board. And take from the discard pile and the draw pile, that sort of thing, draw extra cards. We've got dwarf and item cards. They have influence points, which is a numerical value on each card that we use for scoring the game. And when you play a dwarf and item card, it ends your turn, goes on to the next player, and we go around the table like that. When a player has 5 dwarf or item cards in front of them in their play area, it triggers what we call the end game, which is the last round of the game, and it ends on the player that triggered it. So it's advantageous to be the player to trigger. And in that round, we find that's where it gets really scrappy. We've got players that are either going to make sure that they win, you can sort of see whether you're going to have enough points or combos to get there, or making sure that you're not the loser because you don't want to give up your good card going into the next round. We designed Kingless to be really easy to learn and pick up. We've got players here at PAX that are figuring it out in one round and going and having a great time with it, and that's by design. But we also wanted to make Kingless a skill-based game that you can become good at and understand how combos work and understand how different play styles will play out throughout the game. So over time you'll learn what the combos are, and you'll learn different ways and different strategies to beat other players to win.
Perfect. And what came about the design process? Like, what gave you, like, is this like something you had an idea rolling around your head for a while, or was it something that kind of inspired, like, between you and Nathan, how did that come about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've both always wanted to make a game, and we've always knocked small things up together and just played around with it to see how it goes. And it was a combination of wanting to to build out this universe, so that the universe that Kingless sits within, and we've got like story behind each character and lore and things like that, and turn that into a game and combine the two. And we got there with Kingless, and that's sort of it. Just the game has evolved a lot over time. It's sort of grown in different paths, getting to where it is today. And a lot of those cues are sort of coming back in the expansion, which we've got here, which is the Festival of Explosions. And we have a prototype version.
And you got a Kickstarter coming for that?
Yeah, hopefully towards the end of the year for the expansion. Yeah, the Kingless, the base game, is out. We launched a couple of years ago. We were lucky enough to win the Indie Showcase last year at PAX with Kingless. We won this year with the expansion.
I was a bit confused.
Yeah,
I swear I saw you guys somewhere around a while ago.
Absolutely, yeah. No, we were here last year. So
but we weren't playing with the expansion.
No, that wasn't out then. No, so the expansion's here. It's a prototype version here now. So we're people who saw Kingless last year and have come back, and we're now playing the prototype version with them here. And
perfect.
Yeah.
So really what we just played there, that had the prototype cards layered in.
No, that probably would have been the base game that you played there. But we can run a copy of the prototype version.
Maybe I'll bring some amazing out tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So how long were you working on Kingless before it became a real thing? Are you self-published, or did you?
Yeah, we're self-published. We done everything. We work with Panda Game Manufacturing in the States, and they've helped us bring Kingless to life with the manufacturing. But yes, we're self-published. We've been working on Kingless for probably over 3 years now, so development was a year and artwork and things like that, so it took over a year to get out there, and then we launched on Kickstarter and raised funds to manufacture the game and get it out to everyone.
You didn't find that part difficult, getting the marketing out there? And
it was terrifying. It was really, really hard, but I think just being able to sit down and play with people and have, like we are here, people enjoying themselves and having fun playing the game sort of sells itself in a way. And
I can expect that being very rewarding, seeing the fruits of your labor. Amazing. People having a great time. It can't be a better feeling than that.
No, the best feeling is just seeing people laugh when they're playing a game they've curated and just having fun. Friends and family and even just people we've never met before at PAX is amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for demoing this and coming along. I'll be definitely looking at the next expansion.
Absolutely.
First time I played it, but like I said, I picked it up one round. It was great.
Yeah.
So thanks, Sebastian.
Thank you very much.
PAX.
Thank you.
Hello. So this is Daryl from Aura Game. He's all the way from Singapore. Is that correct?
Yes.
And he had a bit of an interesting story. A lot of published games under your belt, and you were just telling me about Wok and Roll, but give me a bit of a story. When did you start developing board games? How did that happen?
So I lived in Canada for a really long time, and I started designing games when I was there, and it's been over 15 years now since I've taken up the hobby of game design, and 4 years plus since I've been doing game design full time, and that's kind of when I started Ori Game as well.
Oh, awesome. So were you always interested in making card games, board games? Was it something that you kind of fell into, or did like a friend or like someone you knew kind of got you into it, or?
Yeah, like I've always enjoyed playing games, and when I was playing lots of games in Canada, the group that I was playing with, they started kind of dabbling in board game design, and then I kind of fell into that rabbit hole as well, and I really enjoyed the process of not just game design but also game development, where you kind of look at a game and try to improve it. I think people who really like games have that attraction to games that allow them to kind of analyze and try to see how can I make house rules for games to make them better. Yeah, so that's kind of my passion.
That's awesome. So you said how many games you have published under your own company now?
I think by the end of this year should be around 30. Me personally 30. Ori Game should be around like 15 to 20.
It's very impressive. And Ori Game has been set up since how long ago?
2019.
Wow, and you've already got that many games. You really just churn them out.
we try our best, yeah.
So do you work mostly by yourself and then you have a team that supports you, or is it a big collaborative effort with multiple people?
Our game is just 2 people, me and my partner, Nick. We both work together on the art direction. We do the UI, graphic design for the games. Yeah, we do everything. I try to travel as much as I can around Asia to meet designers and try to exchange ideas and test each other's games.
So do you use like the conventions as well as like a form of like marketing as well to get your name out there?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been really fun. This is our first time in Australia. It's been really fun meeting all the Australians and introduce them to our line of games. And we even have like people who actually knew about the games, which was quite surprising to me because I mean it's the first time here. Yeah, but really happy to meet people who have already bought our games and paid for the shipping for the games to Australia. Yeah, and they just come and they can explore more of our line as well.
Oh, awesome. So, with some of your games, do you conduct any sort of consultation? I know you've got quite a wide variety of different genres happening, or rather themes. Is there any consultation in that process, or is it just you and your partner working on it? Do you engage with a third party at all?
We have playtest groups that we try to, I mean, every game we will definitely see what the market is and get them to test the game.
Okay. And obviously, you said Eurogame set up during 2019. How did the effects of COVID impact you and your team, or like did it impact at all? Like, what challenges have you suffered over the last 4 or 5 years?
I mean, the funny thing is, our company is set up like mostly during COVID, so like I can only kind of see the differences like in the past year. But yeah, I mean, last year we were going to many conventions. Obviously, there weren't any during COVID. But I think COVID allowed us to sell many games to Singaporeans, because I mean that was the only time we weren't even be able to go to Essen in that first or second year. And actually that allowed us to sell many games in Singapore, and we even got into like 7-Eleven supermarkets. I don't think we could have done that without COVID. Yeah.
Well, I've actually been to Singapore, so I've travelled, so I love the city, so that's really cool. So do you find that you started kind of selling and advertising locally first in Singapore, and then it kind of expanded across the rest of Asia, or was the idea always to deploy as much as you could across Asia?
I mean, being in the industry, it's a very tough industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we sell the games however we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Daryl. You have a great rest of your PAX, and thank you for telling me about yourself and your company. I'm actually going to pick up a copy of Wok and Roll before I go, so
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.